Dreams within reach, it's time to rise. Body, soul, and mind, open your eyes. Climbing higher, step by step. Real talk, no regrets get set. One step, one love, we rise. Walk the talk, break free. Get to the truth, your story's the proof. Love, follow me, let's rise, let's see. Set you free, meant to be.
Oh, that never gets old. I really enjoy that. Writing that was such a cool day when I was coming up with that theme. And stick around for the end of this podcast. I just created a new song you're going to love, I think, personally. It's going to be pretty awesome. It is going to tickle your toes. It's about love, and it's about finding love. After we lead into this, what? The soulmate myth. Oh my God, no way. Am I going to step on some toes? Are people going to leave some trolly comments? I've been getting them. Somebody said, Ryan, take your medication. And I thought to myself, love is my medication. Inspiration is my dedication. So soulmate myth. Are you waiting for the wrong one? Well, beautiful souls, welcome back to the Living Proof Podcast. I am Ryan Keys, and today we're going to dismantle one of the biggest myths out there, the idea that your soulmate is this one perfect person floating around out there in the ether, waiting to magically appear and to complete you. But before I do that, I want to hit you with a joke. If love were a vegetable, what would it be? A cucumber. Yeah, I know. It's as corny as it gets, but you know what? There's something to be said about corny jokes, dad jokes, the long-form jokes. I've got a couple to throw out there today. We'll see what happens. We'll see. We'll see if I can keep a straight face and put it through. Now, I know I am going to step on some toes with this topic, but keep an open mind. I'm not saying that there's not a soulmate, first and foremost, just to be clear, but I'm saying, is the idea of the soulmate that you are searching for actually something that you are setting yourself up for failure to protect yourself subconsciously? Just a thought, right? So I know some of you might be thinking, Ryan, but what if I'm meant for the one person and I just haven't found them yet? I heard that in the twin flame community all the time. Then they switch from, it's my twin flame and I've got to be beaten up for like the next 10 years to, well, I don't know. I think that's my karmic twin. Maybe that's just a lesson I need to learn before I meet my divine partner. And then there's the other, what if I miss my chance with the one? Well, this isn't the Matrix. It's not like you're waiting for Neo. There's plenty of chances out there. God has got somebody for you, no matter where, what, or what's going on. And then the other complaint that I hear, or comment that I hear a lot, is, shouldn't love just happen effortlessly if it's destiny? To a degree. And that's a tough one, because we've been sold this fairy tale that love should just click with no effort, no compromise, no personal growth required, especially now with the cancel delete culture. There seems to be a lot of biggies that have developed this boundary system, which they call healthy boundaries. But from my perspective, just watching and observing and listening to how they interact and seeing the fruits of their labor, I think that the boundaries aren't healthy. I think it's just who they've become. And I think a lot of these boundaries are it's like it's pain that they've tried to embrace in positivity and to give a different spin to it. So they're utilizing the pain from the past to protect them, by preventing anything or anyone from truly coming in, except for their vision of the perfect person. So that is something that I've seen a lot of. It's been on a lot of podcasts. A lot of people have put that out there. I mean, just the idea, no compromise and no personal growth, as if everybody's perfect. I mean, come on. It's crazy. And if it's meant to be, it will work out without challenge is just it's so far for me to think that if it's meant to be, there won't be any obstacles. There won't be any roadblocks. And that's where a lot of people get stuck. And they get stuck either waiting or crushing other people, or they walk past people that it could be a high potential that love could go somewhere. I think that many years I spent a lot of time very active socially, very outgoing, talkative when I needed to be. And, I was in Hollywood doing those things. And then, but for the most part, I laid back. I waited to be chosen, right? And kind of waiting for fate to hand me like a perfect scenario, which didn't, which was a default mechanism for me personally to go back to the nerd, the geek that was beaten up in high school, that skipped dances, skipped school photos, ate in the hallway during lunch, got stuff in a locker, the whole 9 yards, right? So I thought I was being cool. I thought I was being, the cool guy, right? Oh no, if you want me, you come to me. And really what I was doing, it was self-preservation. And I was labeling pain as something that, it was protective, but I labeled it as empowering. So I thought that that was a trait that made me powerful, but actually it made me weak. It made me miss out on friendships and other things because I did that across the board. And maybe you are doing that. Maybe you are doing it and don't know it. And this is going to trigger you and you're going to want to leave a nasty comment. Go ahead, do it. It does. I've got, after Parkinson's and my face crushed and dying twice, I've got pretty thick skin. So the other thing that I know is that a lot of people are waiting instead of living and instead of creating the love they desire, which I saw in the twin flame community, where people would lock into this labor of love. And they thought it was this person that was destined for them. And granted, perhaps it was the name, the place they grew up, or a connection that couldn't be explained, an unexplainable connection. Okay. And most of the time, connections can be explained because they were created when you were little. They were created to different aspects of your personality, persona. And I do believe that we have soul agreements, right? I do believe that there are certain people that have to come into our lives. I've got this story that I often say called My Two Dads, where I thought that, my dad wasn't my dad. And then the guy that I thought might be my dad, they both died the same month of the same year of similar things. So that to me says fate, no matter who it was, had that set up for me to be experiencing loss at the age of 21 after I had my face crushed, where I was going to lose my father, right? Hands down, no matter what. And I'm putting that in my 5-Minute Miracle book. It's a chapter called My Two Dads. And it's interesting because it deals with the line of fate. And what we're going to cover today really in depth, I know we're running a little bit behind, but where the soulmate myth came from and why it's a little misleading and why believing in the one can actually block real love from entering your life. And a healthy reframe that makes love way easier and way more powerful. If you haven't checked out my book on Amazon, Putting the Soul Back in Soulmates, I encourage you to do so. It explains a lot. It's pretty great. It's gotten a lot of great reviews. I've sold hundreds of copies. Almost 1,000 now, I think, something like that. And I've got another book that's coming out. They're called The Warrior Code. And then I've got another book called The Conscious Universe on Amazon and a romance series. I write romance for all these romance wannabes out there. So this is going to be an eye-opening and freeing and maybe a little bit uncomfortable for all of us because I'm going to be as vulnerable as possible. But I promise you, if you stick with me, it'll change how you see love forever. So number one, where did the soulmate myth come from? And this is going to be, I would like to say the soulmate myth is just another way for people to say twin flame, right? Okay, so that way we have that clarified. So how we got this idea that there's one perfect person for us, the origin that I can see, other than Adam and Eve, right, is been reinforced through Plato's Symposium. Right? It's this ancient Greek text where Plato describes humans as originally being four-legged, four-armed, and two-headed. Then the gods, fearing their power, split them in half, leaving them to spend their lives searching for the other half. The story is beautiful, but also extremely limiting. Even the story of Adam and Eve, that is the origin story, but there's a lot of things that. There's a lot of unexplained things that go into Adam and Eve that I've always had questions about. And I do know that it means that it's possible to be in love and have love for you, and that's a great thing. Here's the thing. I don't believe, and I never will, and no one can convince me that you are half a person. I think that believing you're half a person is automatically disabling, and I think it's automatically... Most of believing that you need someone to be complete is an excuse. That longing is because you haven't really learned to love yourself yet, most likely. I'm not saying for everybody. So if anybody's rearing up, ready to grab their keyboards and kick me in the teeth, not everybody. But here's the thing: you're already whole, right? You don't need another person to complete you. A French bulldog does help. A tiny house by the river, front row seat to heaven. There's a lot of things that can help, but you don't need to have a perfect partner to feel really good and really beautiful and really amazing and do amazing things and have a full life. That's why when some people that are working, I call them working soulmates, working divine partners, and they lived 30, 40, 50, 60 years. I've seen them in my medical practice where one partner dies and that's it, right? That was that was everything to them. And they just live alone with the memories and keep living a good life, but they don't pursue anyone else. One of the big obstacles in this, and I love it, the Notebook comes to mind, the last scene, the first scene, the rain scene, and the house building scene, all of the scenes really. Hollywood, right? And romance novels, which I am guilty of because I love them and I write them, and probably I'm contributing to the problem, but the idea kind of got commercialized, and it's into this notion that real love equals effortless, magical, and meant to be, like Outlander. Like you're going to go up to a stone and you're going to walk through it and suddenly meet the one. And even if you take that, though, if you even look at Twilight by Stephanie Meyer, I mean, yeah, they met the one, but damn, that was, you're talking chronicles of craziness. I mean, that was not easy. And they both wanted to be with each other. I think that, and the twin flame thing is I think it's different, right? I'm not going to dive into the twin flame thing as much, but because I want to keep it general, because that topic's lost a lot of traction going forward, I think, because a lot of people got hurt by it. There was a lot of narcissistic innuendos in that topic, but just know that even religious and cultural conditioning has been there. Traditionalities, the nuclear family. A lot of traditions teach that love should be predestined rather than chosen or built. I think the key takeaway here is if you believe you need one perfect person to complete you, you could subconsciously reject any love that requires growth, work, or challenge. And that can be limiting, right? For instance, think of this story. Why did the boyfriend bring a ladder to his girlfriend's house on Valentine's Day? Because he heard love was in the air. I know. I don't know what it is with these dumb jokes. I'm just addicted. At least they're not dad jokes. Do they have Frenchy jokes? If anybody finds a French bulldog joke, send it to me. All right, so moving on into the hidden danger of believing in the one. I know this is just, this is really gonna curl some toes. I know it already. I can hear the eggshells cracking. Problem one. Number one, with that, it keeps you stuck in fantasy rather than reality. And I really want you to find love. I don't want you to sit waiting for something. I don't want you to walk into the next life and think, man, I really wish I had given that a shot. Because when you believe in one destined soulmate, you're putting all the power outside of yourself. And we talked about this, the reticular activating system, and we talked about how the law of attraction does kind of work with that, and how your brain is conditioned for what you focus on, you will find. And if you think that the soulmate is something very difficult and just rare to find, then it might make it hard for you to locate. And I like to think of you as a location beacon by what you're believing and how you're living and how you're putting information and energy out there. And the louder your signal is that you are in love with yourself, not in a narcissistic way, but in a very therapeutic, whole way, right? You're very appreciative of life. You're living in a state of gratitude. You are offering grace and compassion to other people. You're active, right? Because you're passively waiting instead of actively engaging in relationships, friends, family, job, etc., is going to limit you in interacting in deeply fulfilling relationships that will ultimately curtail you and build you and bring you to a different version of yourself almost daily, right? So don't limit yourself. And this is one thing that I think, and then I'm going to go on to the next problem with it, and I've counseled a lot of people, like the first date syndrome, right? And this is why speed dating really just chaps my hide. But if you go out on a date, right, or if you meet somebody and you're single, think of this. What if that person isn't the person, but knows the person, right? And you show up and you just sideline that person and you don't give them who you really are and what you really offer to the person that you would fall in love with in the future. But let's say, and they know the person that you will fall for, and you fail to show up as yourself, and because instantly the guy is short, the girl's a little heavier than the picture, they're a little older, whatever it is, right? They don't pull up in the car you accept. Think of it like you just missed a short run, a shortcut, right? A hack on knowing who that they are, because the person that you're meeting is not going to give you their approval to introduce you to somebody else. And it happens, right? I know somebody that went on a first date. It wasn't it, but they got along so well, they became pseudo friends. And what happened after that? His friend ended up being awesome, and they met hanging out, and she fell for his friend, and he was super happy about it. So I'm just saying there's all kinds of ways that you will meet, quote unquote, the one. The other problem with that is it makes you dismiss real love because it's not perfect. So even if you meet someone that could qualify as the one, but you're not in the mood for the one, the moment conflict arises, or you feel like the capitals they put in their text kind of canceled you, you start thinking, maybe this isn't my soulmate. And instead of maybe this is an opportunity to grow together, maybe this is a one-off. Let me learn a little bit about this person. Let me put some effort in and not run and bail because I'm afraid of getting my heart broken repeatedly, right? So that's one thing that we understand is there, because love is a choice and a practice, and it's not just some kind of cosmic accident, right? And then the third problem that I've had with it, after coaching and counseling so many people, is it creates fear that you'll miss your person. So even if you meet the one, as you would call it, and they aren't quite ready, because nobody really is ever perfectly ready for anything, right? But imagine you're not quite ready, or they're not quite ready, or the timing is a little off, but they are the one, right? But you've got this fear that something's off, or maybe you're afraid because they're not quite the one. You don't want to miss the one, so you don't invest the energy in the actual one, right? And then you end up alone for a long time until you guys cross paths a year, 2 years, 10 years down the road, and then you're like, wow, you were the one. And then suddenly, you look back and you're like, wow, all that time we could have been totally down for each other had we not given up so easily. And I'm not saying with this, and let me clarify really quick, because a lot of people I know are getting ready to jump on this. I'm not saying that if you work, every relationship is going to work out. It always takes two people, right? And people can grow apart. And if you're not growing together, you will grow apart. And it's not an excuse. It's just how it is. And the evidence ends up being a lot of times you grow apart and you move away. And it doesn't mean you're going to be alone forever. It doesn't mean the other person will be. It doesn't mean you're bad people. It just means that perhaps you got distracted, or some old trauma came in and that person and you stopped trying, right? And that happens. But it's not, if you've still got the spark, or if you still got attraction, or if you still got a lot of things in common, it's not over. You can still create it. You can still make it work. But just remember, when the fear, like I said, if you believe there's only one person for you, it creates this underlying anxiety that kind of keeps you chasing and doubting and never fully committing, because it's always that options open kind of attitude. So there's always this door open. I actually used to be a guy like that, where I felt from trauma that I needed to keep my options open because, number one, actually, Mine was more due to lack of self-esteem because I felt like I would never be able to provide, right? I was an actor and a stuntman and bodyguarding and doing some other things when I was in my 20s. And I didn't pursue college the way other people did. I went to college later in life. And I thought, I was destined to be single forever or even die early, right? And I just rescued dogs because I never felt like that I would be able to bring that structure, that stability to the table of being the breadwinner. And so I just wouldn't do that. I wouldn't even entertain it because I didn't have that quality. So, and that's very similar. It's not the same thing, but it's where an underlying anxiety will keep you doubting, chasing, or not committing. So I'm comparing that as a personal experience because I'm being vulnerable, everybody. So the key takeaway on this is the belief in the one makes people restless, dissatisfied, and constantly questioning their relationships instead of building something real, instead of building something beautiful. Now, with that, I'd like to talk about the ABCs of love, right? So we have a wife and a husband, and they're sitting outside, and she's looking at him, and she says, "How would you describe me?" And he thinks, and he's looking, and he knows, you got to be careful on this one. And then he goes, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. And she gave him this puzzled look, and she's like, "What does that mean?" And the husband smiled as if he's sharp as a tack, and he goes, "Adorable, beautiful, cute, delightful, elegant, fashionable, gorgeous, and hot." And the wife goes, "Aw, thank you. But what about the IJK?" And the husband looks over at her and he goes, "Oh, I'm just kidding." And then they never spoke again about that topic. Isn't that beautiful? So let's reframe the soulmate myth ideology into something more obtainable for those of you that have been single for some time, or for those of you that have been tied around the twin flame topic for the past 10 years, or for those of you that have just given up hope because you don't really believe you deserve love or that you even believe in love, right? So instead of thinking that a soulmate is this one perfect person waiting for you around the corner, think of it like this, and this might help. Think of it like a soulmate is someone that you actively create a deep, meaningful connection with by choice, growth, effort, and your own ability to project love from your circumstance, yourself, your energy, your frequency is going to help create a deeper connection to the person. I do want you to keep in mind, right? It's not like Instacart. It's not like Uber Eats. You don't call out and send your order and it shows up at your door and you didn't have to do anything other than hit a couple buttons. Everything requires work that's going to be worth waiting for. So the key shifts to make love easier, number one, would be, and this is not just love for a person, this is love in life, right? Finding to building. Go from finding to building. Stop waiting and start creating. Create love through presence, self-awareness, gratitude. Graft love into as many areas of your life and relationships as you can so that you are aligned and ready for action when that opportunity arises. It's ever ready. It's always working, even when you're waiting. Even a rock is energy. A rock is actually energetically moving and vibrating. So you're actually working. You are vibrating. Your energy is going, even if you're waiting and standing still for the one. So get a grip on your energy so that your energy is able to create connections and to override your own internal objections and to be able to build. And then shift from destiny to alignment. It's going to that will take a whole load off of you, first and foremost, because a great relationship is not about luck. It's not just about fate. It's not just serendipitous. It is about two people choosing each other and then choosing to interact, choosing to talk, choosing to be with each other every single day. It's like the joke by Jerry Seinfeld when he said, Love isn't like a job. It's not like you call in when you get sick and you don't go in. Don't go in. Love is the opposite. Love is that you do go in when you're sick. You do take care of the other person when you're sick, right? That's the whole funny thing about love. It's not something that you avoid. It's not something that when the going gets tough, you say, I tap out. It's not like an MMA fight. You got to keep going until you win, because winning means that you've adapted and you've adopted new belief systems. You've grown. And granted, again, let's go back. That's equal effort. That means that the person's giving you equal effort. They're aligned with you. The growth is going at the same rate. Maybe not always, but most of the time. When someone's not giving you the effort, then that's a different story, right? Then we've got something different. I'm talking about equal effort, equal application, and then shift from the perfect fit to perfect growth. Because the best relationships don't come pre-assembled. They're not like IKEA furniture, just a couple of screws and bolts and an Allen wrench, and suddenly you've got, your whole den is furnished. It's going to take a lot more work than that. Think of it like going to chop the tree down and hone the wood, plank the wood, and stain it, sand it from the ground up. It can be love at first sight, love at first bite, right? But at the same time, that's not going to carry you through the hard times, through the ups and the downs, through the sickness and in health, through the job loss, through the moving, through the promotions, through the dirty diapers. That's not going to carry you. Love at first sight, as great as it is going to need more, right? The match will not keep you warm. The match has to light the fire, and then the fuel of that fire has to continue to consume on itself and be added to, right? Love is like the flame. The first sight is like the match spark. But remember, to build a fire, to build a flame, to stay warm, you got to chop a lot of wood. So the perfect fit to perfect growth. And the key takeaway is a soulmate is not someone who's magically just going to fit you. They might find you, but it's not going to be magically fitting. And a soulmate is someone who is willing to grow with you, right? So I'm not dispelling that the soulmate title is wrong. I'm just saying, is it a myth? And the final takeaway here is, if you're stuck waiting for love, ask yourself, am I waiting for perfection instead of building something real? Am I rejecting love because it requires effort, or because I really don't want it and I'm pretending that I do? Am I actively becoming the kind of partner I want to attract? And am I putting myself out there as advertised? Am I actually the person someone would want to fall in love with? You see? And then we're going to do a little challenge, and you can do this if you want to become part of Patreon. Come in on Sunday and we can talk about it. We do every other Sunday live on Patreon, and it's the price of a cup of coffee. Or if you feel like donating to the channel, to everything else, to the movement, you can go on up to $55, or you can make a donation. But Patreon is where you can come in and we can talk about things. It's a 7-day soulmate shift challenge, right? I want you to stop saying I'm waiting for the right one and start saying I'm open to creating love with the right person, and to reflect on one past relationship and ask yourself, did I expect love to be easy instead of earned? And then I want you to write down 3 qualities you want in a partner, and then start embodying those yourself, right? Like, and I say this too, when women want a successful man that earns 7 figures, 3 qualities you want in a partner, and then can you embody those yourself? So if you can't bring it, maybe don't necessarily demand it. Equally yoked ain't a joke, right? And because you don't find a soulmate, you can build one. And the process starts by building it within yourself first. I'd also like to say, drop a comment down below, leave a like, and have some have some class. Somebody told me to take my medication. And to be quite honest, I take medication for Parkinson's, and I take that as a high insult. And I actually reported you for hate speech, because that's bullying. When someone has Parkinson's, you don't say stupid stuff like take your medication. That's really uncalled for. And this is my house, and I'm not going to allow people to dismantle anyone in the comment section. I'm here to protect everybody, right? So, number 1, if you believe in the one and you're open to a new perspective, leave a comment. Number 2, what's on your mindset and what do you need to shift, and what do you think about love after this episode? And again, if you want to go deeper, check out my book, Putting the Soul Back on Soulmates, on Amazon. And you can also go to ryankeys.com. And if this episode changed your perspective any way at all, screenshot this, tag it, clip it, share it, and let me know. Send me the link on Instagram at Ryan Keys to Love, or on TikTok at Ryan vs. the World, which is also Ryan Keys to Reality. And then this is Ryan, me, signing off, reminding you your soulmate isn't waiting for you. They're waiting for you to become the person who's ready to create something real. Take a listen to this song. Let me know if you like it. Peace, light, and love. I'll see you soon. Episode coming out next week. Follow, subscribe, like, and love yourself a little more.
Thought love was a whisper on the wind, but every echo left me alone again. I chased every shadow, held on to the dream, searching for someone who'd never leave. Kept thinking love was some perfect thing, but real love don't come with a diamond ring. Love's not a mystery, love's not a game. It's a fire that grows when you give it a name. It's the laughter, the light, the warmth in the storm. It's a hand reaching out saying you're not alone. And when I stop searching, when I set myself free, that's when love, oh love found me. It is in a moment, wrapped up in gold. She's fire and steel, tender yet bold. We're not picture perfect, but we are real.